Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I will be comparing Pokemon's first ever MOBA and its biggest esport game by prize will Pokemon Unite versus Honor of Kings, China's #1 game, highest grossing game app in the country. It is insanely huge in China, and they're both owned by Tencent. So we will be comparing both of them today and how they're managed, what the pros and cons are. If you're new here, I'm the two-time Pokemon Unite World Champion back-to-back. I also just recently won all the internationals in a row in a single season, 3 times in a row. I've also hit Masters in Honor of Kings with minimal games played and a super high win rate. So obviously, I'm not as accomplished in Honor of Kings, but I know what I'm talking about for the most part, and today we'll be comparing those two games. So category number 1 is the gameplay format. In this category, we're going to be talking about the game's core design and how the game works. Now, Pokemon Unite is a very unique game. I classify both these games as simplified MOBAs. However, Unite is much more simplified than Honor of Kings, and they changed a lot about the MOBA format compared to some of the more classic ones like League of Legends and Dota. There's a set timer, so every single game will end in 10 minutes no matter what. I don't think many MOBAs do this at all. Normally, the games can range anywhere from 20 minutes to like 50 minutes in a lot of games. There are also just no turrets, no towers. You farm Pokemon, wild Pokemon across the map, and you score with them. Most MOBA games have minions that are walking up to lanes, They also have very unique objective buffs. So like they have 3 different objectives. One will give you defense, one will give you attack, one will give you health regen. Yes, these are kind of like the Drakes in leagues, but also they have a Regieleki that's never been seen before in other MOBAs that kind of walks towards goals and you try to score. There's the Rayquaza score shield. A lot of you Unite players know what I'm talking about, but very unique objective buffs. They also have character unites, which are basically ults from other MOBAs, but these are a lot more game breaking and game changing. They're very, very powerful moves that take a lot longer than normal ults. Now, Honor of Kings takes a much more traditional approach, very traditional. They have those 3 lanes. They have the jungle, they have more traditional looking characters and kits. The gameplay is going to be like 15+ minute matches. Most of them are going to end before 30 minutes, I believe. And yeah, the ults are not as game breaking either. So overall, to someone who has never played a MOBA before, I think Pokemon Unite is the better choice. A lot of their changes I think are actually a lot more intuitive for the casual player that's never played a MOBA before. However, if you have played a MOBA before, Honor of Kings is going to feel very easy to breeze through. As someone who's played League of Legends before, I knew exactly what I was doing in Honor of Kings. I didn't even have to look anything up. I just hopped straight into the games. It's very easy to play. However, I'm going to give the edge to Pokemon Unite in this category for 2 reasons. Number 1, I actually think the gameplay being limited to 10 minutes is huge for a mobile game. I think that's actually really important to have a set timer. So throughout the game, you just pop out your phone when you have like 10 minutes of free time and you can play a game. Versus other MOBAs, you kind of don't know how long you're going to be. It's a lot harder to pop those games in throughout the day as a mobile player. And number 2, I just feel like Pokemon Unite's more targeted towards casuals, and it does a great job with this intuitive core gameplay. If I have one positive thing to say, I think the core gameplay of Pokemon Unite is extremely fun and very original. So the score is going to be 1-0 for Pokemon Unite. Next category, number 2, the graphics and visuals. So Pokemon Unite is built for the Switch and mobile, so it's inherently going to look a bit worse than mobile games like Honor of Kings that are just focused on the graphics. Switch is limited to 720p and 60 FPS. That has changed with the Switch 2, but Pokemon came out with the Switch 1, and so keeping that in mind, I actually think it has really good visuals for the devices that it was made for. So that's pretty impressive. I think it has that classic Nintendo look and feel, which people love, so that's a good aesthetic, especially with the Thea Sky Runes map that came out in 2023. I love that map's design and how it looks. I think that looks really good. There are some huge cons, however, for Unite in this category. I feel like skins are a pretty big important part to kind of graphics slash visuals, because they're really pretty. skins make people want to play the game more for those cool animations, cool designs. And Unite does not have many skins for its Pokemon in the game, for its playable characters. Not only that, the good skins, like the cool ones, are very, very expensive. Another con for Unite in this category is it actually runs on 15 hertz servers. Now the game tries its best to look like a 60 FPS game, but even being capped at 60 FPS and running on 15 hertz is not ideal at all. Honor of Kings definitely wins this category because it runs on 120 hertz. Its visuals are just going to be slightly better because it's made purely for mobile, and it gives out so many skins, infinitely more skins for free. It has given out legendary skins for free in past events. So the score is going to be tied up 1-1 in this category number 2, the graphics / visuals. Now category number 3 is going to be competitive. Now what I'm assessing in this category is, I know this category might be less important to a lot of casuals and not really competitive players, but it's very important to a world champion and a pro player like me. What I'm assessing is the ceiling or skill level in the innate game mechanics. So how far can you take your insane outplays in the actual gameplay? But another thing I will be assessing is what the esports scene looks like. So again, I mentioned that HOK runs on 120 FPS. That's already going to be huge compared to Pokemon Unite. Pokemon Unite running on 15 hertz servers is going to make it already lose out at being more skillful in dodging, hitting your skill shots, those very micro things. However, it does have some unique concepts. So Pokemon Unite has evolving into Pokemon, and when you hit this power spike like level 5, you get a ton of stats. So that is really cool on its own. It also lets you choose between 2 moves, which is rarely done in MOBAs. So there's a lot more variety in that. So I think those things add skill to the game. Adding variety in a good way always adds skill. It also has held items to customize further, 3 held items. However, this is a lot worse customization in the stats department compared to other games. So both games also just have 1 summoner spell. Now Honor of Kings, on the other hand, has so many items to choose from, and you actually buy them in game. You can customize your item to the enemy team's champs and their items as well. So I think HOK kind of wins this category in the gameplay department. As for esports, Pokemon Unite has been global for much longer than Honor of Kings. So right now, I'd say Pokemon Unite is a little bit better. However, the system Honor of Kings is adopting and is global of inviting tier 1 orgs to an invitational league, I think is probably going to be better in the long run. So it's already doing really good for its first year, I think, of being global. Also, it's just really big in Asia as well. So you can see here I have a chart where Pokemon Unite ACL got 29,000 average viewers during its broadcast, and Honor of Kings got 36,000. Okay, 36,000 average viewers. So Honor of Kings doing very well in Asia, and I think it'll catch up in the West probably. So I think HOK blows Pokemon Unite out of the water in this category. The score is going to be 1-2 now. Alright, sorry for the cut there, but I really needed some water. Alright, so on to category number 4. Honor of Kings is currently winning with a score of 2. Pokemon Unite has 1. This category is how fun is it? I think this is really important, and this is actually going to be a lot more complex than the title says. What is the daily player experience like? Will I log on the game and will I want to play for hours? What if I only have the time to play 30 minutes a day? Is that short-term experience going to be fun? If I feel like grinding it for 24 hours straight, is that long-term experience going to be fun? How fun is the actual game? Now, whether you like the core gameplay better between each game, that's going to be completely up to your personal opinion. I personally, as you saw in category 1 already, I think the core gameplay of Pokemon Unite is so intuitive. I really like it. So my personal opinion is it's better, but that is up to you, whichever kind of game you like, because Honor of Kings is more traditional. Some people like that. So outside of your personal opinion, I think this category comes down to the events, the rewards, the matchmaking, and the community. All these things make the game fun outside of the core gameplay, and they are very important. Now, in terms of events, Honor of Kings completely blows Unite out of the water, with dozens upon dozens of events going on at the same time. Not only are there a ton of events, these events give actual substantial rewards. They give you champions, they give you skins, and you'll see so many events going on at any point you decide to play. It almost becomes a negative for the short-term gameplay experience, because you are completely overwhelmed every time you log onto the game by how many rewards there are to claim. But I think people generally like to claim rewards, so I think it's still a huge win for Honor of Kings. Now, not only does Unite barely do events, but these events barely give any rewards for free. If you want like a skin or something with the event, they make you pay Aeos gems, which you have to buy. So I think Honor of Kings completely blows Unite out of the water with its skins that it gives, its events. It's absolutely insane how many rewards Honor of Kings gives, and a lot of people love that. Now, the matchmaking part is going to be a bit debatable, because Honor of Kings does have faster matchmaking than Unite. However, this is due to autofilling roles with bots. So if the matchmaking's taking like too long, say it's like taking a minute, they will fill a bot in on your team. You'll literally be playing with a bot, a non-human. And I'm not like insulting people, it's actually a bot. However, Unite also has bots, they just do it in a different way. If a queue is taking too long, or you've lost a ton of matches, you'll face a full bot team, but they will never autofill a bot on your team. Now, each strategy has its pros and cons. I personally think it's kind of even. Both the matchmaking systems are not ideal and kind of shit in my opinion, and there's a lot to be gained. I do think Honor of Kings has a slight edge in matchmaking, maybe at high elos. I didn't really experience any issues at the higher elos when I was at it. The final subcategory of this is the community. Now, that's something I'm not going to delve too much into, but the community does seem to be slightly better in Honor of Kings than Pokémon Unite. They seem more united, ironically. So I think Honor of Kings honestly wins this whole category in a landslide. Now, again, in my personal opinion, the core gameplay of Unite is more fun, and because of that, if I subjectively did this category, I might rate Pokémon Unite as more fun than Honor of Kings, because the core gameplay being fun is the most important to me. I think it is a big deal. However, if I'm being completely unbiased and you take that out of the equation, I think Honor of Kings wins this category. So current score is 3 to Honor of Kings and 1 to Pokémon Unite. Will Pokémon Unite come back and at least almost try to tie up in category number 5? Free to play / pay to win. I think this is an important aspect of a mobile game. How free to play friendly is it? And what free to play friendly means is, can I log on, not spend any money, and can I play at an even level with everyone else? Now, for both games, the answer is yes. I think it is very free to play friendly in that aspect. Now, the other free to play friendly aspect, I think, is skins. Skins are actually really important to a player's interest in the game, because again, skins are fancy, skins are cool. A lot of people like skins. And in that aspect, Honor of Kings completely blows Unite out of the water. I've already gone over how many free skins they give. It's absolutely insane. The last time Unite gave out a skin was a couple months ago, and I think they only do an event like once a year that gives out a free like mid-tier skin. Honor of Kings is out here giving some of its most rare skins away in some giveaways. So I think that Honor of Kings ends up being more free to play friendly. Now, what pay to win means is, how pay to win is it to play at an even level with everyone else? Now, both games have a certain level of pay to win aspect. Pokemon, you have to upgrade the held items. Honor of Kings has like those Arcana stuff, and both I'd say are a fine pay to win aspect of the game, because you can just play for a couple months and your account will be completely maxed in those regards. I don't think you'll see any issues, and unlocking characters is obviously a big theme too. Now, I do think in Unite it is slightly easier to unlock all the characters than Honor of Kings, just because there's so many characters in Honor of Kings. But I honestly feel like the skins are such an important aspect, and Unite not giving skins is such a big deal. They really should be giving out more free skins. That'll increase a lot of player entry. So I have to give the score to Honor of Kings again. So Honor of Kings is gonna win 4-1. Honestly, destroyed Pokemon Unite in a landslide. Now again, as I've said throughout the video, I find Pokemon Unite's core gameplay more fun. So if you do too, don't feel too ashamed. I do think the core gameplay of Unite is really fun. They just need to work on a lot of other aspects of the game. Pokemon is such a big IP that I hope it gets the justice it deserves, because it is not getting the justice it deserves right now when they're both under Tencent. So it's really interesting that these games are kind of owned by the same big parent company. But yeah, not only Honor of Kings, many mobile games surpass it right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, the comparisons, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.